people do we expect to still join? I mean, we have Glenn. Hello, Glenn. Awesome. Does anybody else know?
I think we expect Yoshi and Dan to join, since we wanted to talk about the RSign.
Dan's already here. Yeah.
Joshi just finished his collab.
Yeah, let's give him a few minutes to take a breather. Hello, Rinke. But yeah, we can actually, since there are so many of us, already start with the boring stuff. Yeah, I already see that Dan is actively engaged in the minutes document for this call. I'll just make it editable because it's not editable at the moment. And I'll post the link with edit rights in the chat. Here we are. Okay. In that document, we have just outlined the protocol that we're following for these calls. So we're still in the kind of intro phase now. We actually left it 3 minutes ago. So right now, we would have a 10-minute kind of round robin to hear about what everybody else is working on. And after that, we would dive into our main topic. So I think we can already start with that. Rinke was very active, I know that. I wasn't very active in actual Rholang development the last week due to other constraints, but that is actually not much of a problem. Rinke, do you want to say anything about what we've been doing recently? Is there anything particular, anything specific?
No, not particular.
Okay, no, fine. No, I'm
Just
not
learning.
pushing anyone. Yeah, well, learning by doing, and since that incurs doing, one obviously produces something. Joshi, welcome.
Thank you.
Lua, anything from your side? Did you produce anything in Rholang? I mean, I'm not pushing, I'm just asking. Round robin, like I said.
Did I produce anything in Rholang worth sharing?
Actually, no, I said hello to you, Joshi, and I was talking to Luam, who maybe doesn't hear me. No, he does, okay. But I guess he heard, and that was a kind of silent no. I know what's happening on Patrick's side. I don't think it makes too much sense to ask him about what he produced, or but then again, that's fine. Since obviously there's not too much activity, unless actually I'm confused here. I have to I need to get one thing straight. Phaedrus / Theophoric. How should I refer to you correctly? How would I do that? And you're muted.
Theo.
Theo, okay, Theo. So I skipped you. I'm sorry about that. Anything you want to contribute in this round, or should we just jump right into the main topic?
No, we can go ahead.
Okay, that sounds.
I'm curious to Joshi. Did he produce something interesting?
Well, I guess that's a given.
Yeah, I don't know if I produced any good code this last week, to be honest with you. I did some JavaScript more than Rholang, probably.
Okay, but was that connected to some sort of integrations with RSign, or what was that about?
Yeah, so Dan and I and another guy named Chris, I don't think he's here today, have been working on RSign API, which I don't know if you guys are familiar. Yeah, I thought maybe you were. It's basically a JavaScript wrapper for the RNode gRPC. So we're updating that to Node 7 and adding a couple minor features.
Great stuff. Okay, well, that's also a nice update. I mean, that's essentially what we're asking for.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. Cool.
I mean, that's the point. So we know what activities are kind of underway in the Rholang ecosystem, because before we had these calls, I kind of got wind of what was going on with a 2-3 week delay. So yeah, but I think this is going to help. Right. To me, this sounds like we're ready to jump into the main topic.
This is Glenn. I can give a small update.
You can, please do so.
So I have been working on, I guess, what I would call a personal namespaces idea.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is to just understand how to do, like, I've been working on there's a bounty that It's about how to do your own Genesis exercise, I guess, call it. It's just starting your own node and bonding other validators to it. So right now that's at a spot where it's it is the Genesis, like the testnet launch type thing. But then the next step is to take it to where we can bond once there already is a network going.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also been researching how you would start your own shard, which that's not, my understanding, that's not coded yet, so we can't do it, my current understanding. The bounty is on Genesis. Shoot, I could get I'll get the link for the bounty and put it in the doc here.
The Genesis definitely works. We've done it.
986 is the issue.
Yeah, no, I understand. 986. Okay, thanks.
So what I understood.
Then after that is bonding after. The next is bonding after Genesis, and I think that's what actually the testnet guys have been doing, or the testing Tuesdays have been doing. It seems that's what the instructions show. So that's the next step, is to run through that on the Genesis network that I've created.
Okay, right.
Interesting.
How are you documenting what you do? Because what we have actually decided this week to start looking into is kind of launching our own very smallish, very rudimentary testnet, so that we can just test faster without being a drag on the main testnet, and having more under our control, and of course also learning how to do our own Genesis ceremony. Do you have some sort of, do you publish what you did in some way so we could kind of draw up on that, or?
So in the bounty ticket, the bounty ticket is about documenting that, if I understand the bounty ticket properly. And I'll put that link in your doc here. If you've already got it, I'll update this what you're editing. At least I think I can edit that.
Yeah, issue 986. All
Assuming
right.
I can edit this thing. Yeah.
I think you can. I think I made it everyone.
By the way, does anyone know how to avoid crossover talk efficiently without changing just the port, the academia port?
What was the question?
How to avoid crossover, crossover communication to other networks, because I have the problem that once I've connected with a node on, for example, the official testnet, and then try to start my own one, that I get all those peer connections to the other network.
Yeah, that's
I think I've experienced that too by just running.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't have an answer, but I've noticed it too. In at least the work I've been doing, I use separate virtual machines. I don't know if that's really an answer or not, but that way I get different IP addresses anyway for each node. So I don't have to mess with ports.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's a total answer to your question.
Yeah, so I was changing the Cadamnia port for my instances, but that's not the proper way to do it. Some way of network IDs or whatsoever should be the right way, I guess.
Yeah, they have this idea of shard ID, but I think it's just hard coded that it's always RChain, or I don't know how to. I wonder if that's in rnode.toml actually, now that I think about it, but I've never seen it be anything other than just RChain.
True, and I couldn't set it. I just tried to override it, but it doesn't work.
Who's asking? Sorry, I'm learning.
Phil.
Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions? I mean, we have reached kind of our designated, what do you call that, mark during this call. So we may want to start leaning towards the main issue of today, RSign, and what tokens might look like on the network. And unless we have any other inputs on the topics we just raised. I kind of hand over to the experts on this, which
Maybe
I
I
would
have a really
assume.
small question.
Yeah.
Today I tried to download Node 7 and I looked up into the repository and I could only find it up to 0.6.4.
I'll drop a link in the chat in just a sec.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Lovely.
That was Rinke.
Good. So going once, going twice. Anything else?
To somebody say out loud, applications, internals, or installation.
Oh, actually, when we're talking about RSign, I would definitely I would vote for internals, 100%. Installation is.
Okay, hold on. We've heard from you.
What's more
Hear from others, please.
Yeah, I mean, hey, since you did this to Theo earlier, how should I address you? Is it Da or Dog or Dodgy?
Dog is fine, or David, whichever you prefer. I'm fine with Dog. I mean, that's why I chose this one.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah, I mean, it's your meeting, right? So I vote internals along with you.
Okay. Unless I hear otherwise, I shall begin that way. Okay, so actually, I'd like to hear just a little bit more from the audience. Somebody asked me a question that I should answer in the next 5 minutes. Somebody else?
Right. This is super basic. I basically started really looking at Rholang yesterday. So like 101, you create a channel, and then very commonly you create a contract, and the contract name is the same as the name of the channel you just created. Is that a given? Is that how you ensure that anything coming in on that channel is read as a contract and triggers that code?
Oh, sorry. I meant something about RSign.
Okay.
Simple answer, yes. But yeah, that's not very RSign relevant.
Wicked.
So one issue I had with RSign was just also very basic, and I probably just failed, and just my attention span might have been too short. How to actually, or where actually, the connection is made to the node. I just failed to see that, and that's kind of what spawned.
That's a great question.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. There are no stupid questions here. That question is issue number something or other, in fact. The answer is we don't connect to RChain at all. Okay, so you're right on the leading edge there. You're not trailing. Okay. So I am going to do a quick flyby read through. It's a signature tool. If you had it installed, you could go to options. You could say, I want my key to be called David. You can call it whatever the heck you want or nothing. You do have to give a password. You hit generate and save. It generates a key pair, saves the private key and the public key in your browser local storage. Shows you the public key there. And then you can sign any JSON data. It converts the JSON to Rholang into protobuf and signs the serialized form. Gives you the hex of the signature there. And then it has some message passing with apps that I could demo, but people didn't ask for that yet. And then this is the installation crap. Okay. So what people asked for is code walkthrough.
Maybe then before you start, what was the need for RChain? So how did it get started? Like, I'm a complete noob on it. I heard it flying around, RChain, but what was the need? What are you trying to solve with RChain?
Okay, that's applications. So we got this status application, which is actually deployed. Anyway, so you want to say something like, it's a little Twitter, Facebook thing, like, you know, I'm talking with my friends, right? We could have a social application on RChain, right? We could. You have to nod out loud.
Right.
Okay. But then I could post, and then you could forge posts by me, right? And we can't tell who's really posting anything, right? So we figured, heck, the way we should do this is to sign our inputs to the chain. In general, I can't think of any way to put data that anybody should pay attention to on the chain without signing it. So that was the need. We were working on this application for our chain for Archon 3.
Cool. I understand it.
All right. And I had done some work with, oh, I've got a blog item on. Anyway, I had done some, I really should find that blog item. Anyway, I had done some work with extensions, and so I scared that up and went to town. Okay, so when you pop up the, that's okay. First, we do options, and when you do that, the code that runs is this little thing. And I was most of the modules are written using object capability style, and so they can't have access to ambient authority. Blah blah blah. Never mind. But this does almost nothing except grab the document and the window stuff, and then call this options thing that's imported from SigTool. So we're going to skip over to SigTool. Oh, we grabbed NACL because it generates random, cryptographically random stuff, and pass that in here. Okay, so SigTool is where we're really going to start. All right. So this is one of the main data structures here. I'm using this flow static types checking stuff. So what actually gets saved when you generate a key pair is the label, like I showed. Then the secret key is actually stored encrypted under a password that you choose. I hope that's kind of obvious why we would want to do that. And then the public key is just stored as a string. And then the rest of this stuff I'm going to skip down. So the options document, basically, so this is on content loaded, means basically when the page pops up, we're going to try to get your existing key and show it. And then if you hit save, we're going to generate. Well, we're going to grab the label and the password out of the DOM, that the guy typed in, and then call this generate method, which is going to do all the business.
Quick question. I mean, how do we handle questions? Like in the flow or afterwards?
In the flow.
So are we talking about the content loaded of the DOM of the kind of small window of the extension, or the entire actual viewport of the website that is being browsed?
The smaller one, this stuff right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and tool is this SigTool thing, which needs access to the random number stuff and access to your browser local storage. So we'll get the SigTool is kind of where the interesting bits are. So this is just sort of DOM manipulation stuff that I hope is straightforward. And then to show the public key again, you just do some DOM manipulation. You grab the relevant elements out of the page, you make sure they're input elements, and then blah, blah, blah. This is some static type checking stuff in a way. All right. Local storage is a forward reference to when we can handle both Chrome and Firefox. It normalizes callback APIs to promise APIs. Okay, now we're into the interesting stuff. Taking a breath, waiting for a question. Okay. Like I said, this tool needs access to your browser extension local storage and a source of cryptographic randomness, and it gives you back the SigTool. And if somebody does the get key method, they're going to get back a promise to either assigning key or null, And everybody remembers what a signing key is. It's this gorp. Okay. And the way we do that is we do the browser local storage, which is a key value store. And interestingly, what comes back is both the key and the value. So then you have to pattern match out or destructure out to get the value. And this, again, is kind of static type checking stuff, because what could be stored in the browser storage, it's kind of like, it could be anything, and this makes sure that it's actually of, you know, it makes sure that it's actually a signing key. Otherwise you get null, because somebody could have stored something else in there, at least as far as the type system is concerned. Whenever you do IO, you got to do it carefully. All right, so that's how you get a key. And then the interesting thing is what happens if you want to generate a key. So somebody gives me a label and a password. I'm going to take our source of randomness and generate a key pair. And I'm going to make an encrypted key out of that using the label and the password. And then I'm going to put that in local storage. So encrypted key takes a key pair and label the password. And it's going to take the secret part and encrypt it. And this passkey thing is basically going to, so a person could type in a 3-character password or a 127-character password, and when you do encryption, you have to have exactly, you gotta forget what it is, 32 bytes or something. So the way you get exactly 32 bytes is you hash whatever the guy typed. So all of this is basically go look up the Tweet and ACL documentation and do what they say. So this is, you know, you have to call this with that number, and you get, oh, there's a question whether the nonce should be a sequence number or random or whatever, but that's it. That's one of our issues. Okay, and so does anybody understand how generate works? It's kind of the whole interesting thing. You're muted if you're talking.
Or you say understand or not understand?
Positive acknowledgement is what I'm after. Do you understand?
Affirmative.
Okay. And then, so that's how generate works. And for options, that's all we've done, right? We've just generated a key. And then I'm going to keep going in this file, but later when you actually give it some data, if I try to sign with the wrong password, it's going to say bad. Or if I say give the wrong password, if I get the right password, it's going to sign it. Okay, so I hope you can sort of imagine what the DOM manipulations are. That's not too exciting. But when you actually want to sign something, sign message, you give it the bytes to sign, and then that signing key data structure that you got with get key or whatever, and then you have to get the password that the person typed in. And we're going to get the nonce out of the secret key, or sorry, out of the signing key, because we had to save that. The nonce goes along with encrypting the private part of the key pair. And then signing key, secret key, ciphertext. Oh, right. So this is, yeah, H to B is hex to binary. So now we're going to get, so the ciphertext is your private key encrypted. And then we're going to open the box by using the password that the guy gave. If we lose, and otherwise take the results. Oh, actually sign it and give it back in hex. There's the promise to callback stuff and some UT8 and hex stuff. And that is the guts of it. The rest of it, let's see. The other thing that's interesting is the business of taking JSON and turning it into protobufs and serializing the protobufs. And that happens on this page. Oh, and the other thing is the message passing between the extension and the page, which there's a bunch of, that was a huge pain in the ass. Let's see. The one-way proxy stuff is like, message passing back and forth. Okay, yeah, here's the thing that where we actually, we use the RSign API to take the payload to be signed, turn it into a par, and then use protobuf to serialize the par. So that is a high-speed walkthrough of the code. Let's see if there's one other thing to look at. Yeah, so this does not have OCAPs, but anyway. This is kind of design notes and developer notes.
Thank you for that, Dan. What kind of structures do you see this communicating with on the network? Like the registries, or things that are proxied through the registries, or other kinds of structures, or just...
Well, again, we're into applications, which I think is definitely the more interesting bit. So this is, I've got two favorite applications. That one's, and that's RSign API, which is somewhat relevant. Okay. So this is, this is kind of an older version of the status app, but no, yeah, it's working. Okay. So in this case, the web app over here is what does the on-chain communication, but what we do is we sign things like register Bob. Oh, yes, the blog item has a very good answer to that question. Let me do that real quick.
And in that last example, did the browser fill in the page data, or the thing that got signed?
Say that one more time.
Did the client app fill in the extension, like name Bob, when you click register, it picked that up and signed it? Or did you type in register name Bob?
So what happens is, okay, so I typed Bob up here. What happens when I click this button here is that the extension offers to the page to sign something, and then the page says, oh yeah, please sign this.
Okay.
And then I type XXX and I sign, and then it goes back over to here.
Just a question, is it always clear what it is that you're signing? Like if there's multiple events that all say, I want to get something signed, and then you queue them up or something, and then you click the RSign signing, do you know exactly which interaction led to the thing that you're signing? Or
no, that would be against the protocol. the signature tool offers to sign something, and the page has to give it one thing, and if the page gives it too many things, then that's just, you're not speaking the protocol.
So that's a technically correct answer, definitely. But I think the bigger point is it doesn't take much more than a hack to make a web page that looks just like this one, but like does some sketchy out of protocol communication and tricks the user into signing something they didn't intend to sign. So that maybe would be a feature request or something like that. Does that sound right?
Well, I mean, the mitigation of that is that what gets signed is always displayed right here.
So, but has there been any thought to, like, what if my page requests 3 of those things before the user ends up clicking on the icon? I guess maybe the question that, I don't know if this is what Theo was asking, but the question I'm asking is, like, are we sure that there's no funny state stuff, or have we put thought into the possibility that there might be states that we haven't considered, and what shows up in that data box isn't the right thing, for example?
Well, it may be something irrelevant, but it's what the guy is signing. If he doesn't want to sign this, he better not sign this, right?
And so there might also be a way of, like, if there's a registry, then you would have sort of the equivalent of the NS, right? Where you can actually see, instead of, the IP address or something, you would see what you're actually addressing it to.
No, you just sign data.
Right.
There's no connection to anything else. So the only risk is that the person somehow
Okay, yeah,
didn't look at what they were signing.
Yeah, got it wrong.
This is a trusted user interface over here.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. So if the page offers up 12 different things, the last one is going to show up here, or the first one, I don't know, whatever it is, but
yeah, no, understood.
Yeah, I mean, the person has to realize that they should not trust the web page and they should trust their extension. I don't know how to,
No, I just forgot that the extension wasn't connected to anything. So
okay. This blog item real quick. Still on draft. So the normal pattern for how I expect to use signatures is this Superpower pattern. It's kind of a wallet pattern, if you like. Okay. For example, this contract wraps a Superpower capability in a sort of wallet so that only Jim, the holder of 37 blah, 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 can exercise it. All right, so we're going to do new Superpower, which is going to cause, our chain to generate something nobody's ever heard of before. And then we're going to have a contract that you can get to. Now, this is currently a public name, but this part here would go via the registry. Somebody say you understand so far, these two lines.
Yep.
Okay. And this is a Superpower that allows you to fly a certain height if you can prove that you're the owner of this key, and you get an act back. And so it just does the dance. And the thing to remember when you're doing verify is DSP, like digital signature processor. It's the data, the signature, and then the public key. It's really hard to remember the order of those arguments, so remember DSP. And then if the signature verifies, then we will exercise the Superpower, and otherwise you lose. And so the Superpower is, whatever, you fly or put money in the bank or launch the missiles or whatever the heck. And so we actually did this the other day. That's a real signature. That's a real key that Jim White's cover generated with this tool, and it worked. Another thing that I've got in mind is this certificate of membership. And this thing does OAuth 2 to find out that I have logged in. And so this is my Discord identity. And then I take my, here I can reload the page and do it again. So I take, it knows that I've done, I've got a Discord, an OAuth 2 identity here. Take my public key and do that, and it writes out this binding between my public key and my Discord ID. I take that data and I, sign it. And right now I don't have the communication between these pages, so I'm just doing everything manually. And then I request a certificate. Oh, sugar. Okay, well, this is worth fixing real quick. Oh, maybe I have to. Okay, so I don't know what happened there, but you get okay. Big disconnect there. So this is a binding between my public key and my Discord identity. That's my signature of that binding, and then I send it to the back end, and the back end checks all the pieces that the time is current and the signature is good and that the Discord identity is for real. And then it countersigns the binding. So now I've got a verified credential. And so anybody who trusts this public key can now trust this binding between my Discord identity. So now anything signed with this key, you can trust that it came from member DC Casey. Well, actually, this is not connected to the real Hub RChain Discord server. It's actually connected to Colab right now, so that's a bit of a fib. But that's the other application I'm interested in. So this is how we would do like real on-chain governance using our Discord identities.
Very cool. Is there any intention to expand it beyond a signing tool and towards something closer to MetaMask that has a connection to a network?
That's in sort of patches welcome state. As we said earlier, that's issue whatever the heck.
Okay.
So
how different is it writing extensions for different browsers?
Excruciating.
Really?
I can't imagine how they could have made the API worse.
Was there a particular reason you picked Firefox? Sorry, CRX?
Chrome.
Yep.
It's because I had done it before. And because the standard web extension stuff is based on Chrome.
Yeah, Chrome has a good market share, and also Mozilla, yeah, Dan's showing it. Mozilla is trying to standardize their interface and also supports it. So we at least get Chrome and Firefox this way, and hopefully the standard will be adopted. Hopefully.
Yeah, the difference between Firefox and Chrome, there are differences that I have not, tested and finished at, but it should be a small amount of work. It's not very exciting work, as you can imagine.
As far as I understand, Brave is quite popular as well for other people kind of in crypto, but the dev version of Brave is also compatible with all Chrome extensions, so you'll get that as well.
Yeah, I started to try out Brave. I would like to switch my world to Brave, but I'm going slowly. Google owns me, for better or for worse.
So I'm trying to find this RSign -ext blog page or whatever it was, and I just failed to find it.
Oh, right.
Full text search, so I have no idea where I don't know. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Is it public? Public service announcement. We've reached the next point of no return. It's open discussion phase now, whatever that means. So if you have questions, you just shoot. And yeah, essentially, we talked about actually connecting what RSign is doing to our node or to the network in any way. I know that's an issue. What kind of time frame? In what kind of time frame would that be relevant? I mean, I've seen the kind of governance tools on the robot domain. Impressive. I didn't know about them. Are they going to be kind of at that state, or is there any kind of point in time where some sort of alpha version should be ready?
The alpha version of RSign
is there. You can download it. It's released.
Yeah, so just to get everybody up to speed on one of my intentions, whenever we finally reboot testnet to node 7, which I guess might be Tuesday, my intention is to deploy status app and encourage people to use it and play with it and demo it as much as I can, and hopefully get people to develop their own dApps with front ends and everything on the test net. So that's going to require RSign, and I'll make it clear, just like Dan has, that you shouldn't put any real faith in the tool yet, but test it out and beat on it, and we can start to get an ecosystem built that way.
Where can I find the tutorials on status dApp?
That's in my GitHub. I'll grab a link here. Oh, he's right there. Dan has it in.
I can see that. Yeah.
But it's not fully dApped, right? There's some sort of hosting of static content on centralized servers, or not?
Yeah. So I think I put in the chat earlier a link to a diagram that I did. I don't know if Dan, you want to hit that, or someone wants to look at it, but there's three pieces to the way there's three pieces to how this dApp works. There's the R node, then there's something that serves up the front end. Yeah, this is the thing. So R node is on the left. The thing that serves up the front end is in the middle, and then your user experience, which includes the little hand signing as RSign, is on the right there. So you have to know of someone to play that central role. That could be the person that you're already trusting to run an R node. It could be one of many different organizations who choose to host it, or it could be you yourself if you don't want to host and trust anyone.
Yeah, I mean, nothing gets fully decentralized until everybody has some kind of software, until the software for decentralized applications is ubiquitously deployed. In the meantime, we use web browsers.
And what is the reason for this pattern? Like, so you're not reading from your own nodes, if I get it correct, right?
You can be. There's basically three roles here, and these three roles could be played by three different people or two people, where like the R node and the server are together, or the server and the browser are together, or one person if you want to run your own node and serve the UI and use the UI.
Yeah, it's like you can be your own Bitcoin blockchain. You can run your own Ethereum node, or you can do what almost everyone does, trust in Fura.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
And for now, like, who in practice is running this server?
Dan showed you the one on robot.net. That we're definitely not claiming that this thing is like rearing to go and everyone should dive in now. But what I am claiming is that within a week, or hopefully even a couple days of testnet reboot, we can be at a stage close to that.
Cool. I'm going to make dApps.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I hope you do.
Super exciting. Yoshi, with that pace, I hope that we can even build some apps at the hackathon in November, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to be there at that. And then, speaking of that, this structure or something similar to it could be how we do. I know we've talked about the wallet. Like, this could potentially be the same thing,
It's the same thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. So, cool.
It's also good for me. Like, for me, it's still hard to visualize how actually dApps are going to work, and I think that's also partly because there's not such a thing as an address on RChain. But I think with this RSign, you're creating something like an address, right? But you're not creating as you're doing it in Ethereum, but you're just saying, okay, I am going to include this superpower thing, and then you create an address kind of that way on your own.
Yep. Yeah. RChain is in some ways lower level than Ethereum, and we have to reconstruct all of the conventions in Ethereum. Yeah. The other thing that's quite relevant as far as addresses is the registry and the UUIDs you get from the registry. That is a critical part of, because all this junk with public names means it's all a joke. Okay. So now we have. The registry really works, so I don't know if there's time to get into that, but Joshi, I don't know if you have any of the stuff that we did.
That would be super exciting, the registry, to elaborate on that.
Yeah,
We have
what
9
was
minutes. We have 9
what was
minutes.
the call? Yeah, we've got 10 minutes, so you guys, prioritize, David, prioritize however you want. I can show code if you want, or we can talk about tokens or.
Well, tokens was the topic, but I'm not
Release
sure
notes
what-
to have quick examples too.
To my mind, this is a token right here.
That Dan, when you say is, you don't mean like this is how we're going to define a token. You mean like we sub in a token right here and things look similar, right?
No, this is a token for flying.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're using token in a way similar to like capability, basically, right?
Exactly, so, identically.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, okay, then you can also look at it from Mark Miller's thing where there's capabilities which are opaque and then the bars of gold are assayable. Did you watch his blockchain San Francisco talk?
Yeah, I watched it. I don't know if anybody else did.
I was
Okay. Highly recommend. I'm just going to stick this in real quick.
So Dan, you're saying there's economic value are you making an economic statement, Dan?
Well, yeah, the ability to fly has potentially got economic value.
That's a good point.
Well, he's basically creating scarcity, right? That's what he does. Like he says, you can only fly if you can present me the private key, which is corresponding to this public thing. So in a sense, that is creating kind of artificial scarcity. And if people like to pay for this printing, yes, I'm flying on your terminal, then yeah, you're creating something economic. But yeah.
Let me see if I can find this.
Right, but not a representation of economic value.
There's a great
Not a
slide.
model of expressing economic value.
It's rather a non-fungible token.
Right. Well, okay. Fungibility is right on this slide that I'm looking for it. Where'd it go?
Is this video shared?
Yeah. I just gave a pointer here. Miller at SFDBW. Yeah. Here we are. So in general, OCAPs are shared. You can exercise them. They're opaque, specific in one way, and then money is exclusive, symbolic, assayable, fungible, and all or nothing exchange. So you can build e-rights out of OCAPs. This is when you build one of these. The purse contract is the same purse contract as he's talking about in this talk. Well, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, it's closely related anyway. In other words, in our chain, we're building tokens out of OCAPs, just like he's been talking about for years and years.
So maybe next week I can go through my my work. Addresses this quite a bit.
Well, we had
registry would be good.
people voting or expressing interest in doing a registry deep dive, but then again, of course, yours, Theo, is kind of carried onward from previous the previous sessions as well. So we will actually, since we're in the last 5 minutes, I'd actually like to get some feedback on the process we had to actually come up with which topic we will be discussing today, because I'm not really confident it's the most optimal and hassle-free way. I know that marketing is using Lumio to arrive at certain decisions in a group of geographically distributed members, and I don't know if this kind of email thing is the best. And so I'm just looking for open feedback, how you like the process the last week.
It might have been a miracle, but it worked really well.
Okay.
So
Well, I'm surprised myself, because I don't really react well to kind of like absolute silence, which we had until Wednesday. So, but yeah, I think I'm happy to carry on in the same manner, but I'll still be looking out for better ways to just for people to express their opinions in different ways than emails and group emails.
So I think it's valuable to have two different kinds of meetings. One of them is just this general building of development interest and knowledge around the EU community. And the other one perhaps more specifically targeting one talk at a week. It doesn't have to be on the same day. You can have sort of the regular scheduled meeting and then just say, I'm going to be talking about this at this point if anyone's interested. And have it be sort of a...
Would you say that two proposed meetings would have zero overlap or some degree of overlap in topics? And
I mean, they could, but I think it's both valuable functions to have, and we don't really have a chance to do either of that in this format.
Here's a random thing that I might like to do in the last 3 minutes. What is everybody's Discord handle? Mine is @JoshyOrndorff.
well, shouldn't we kind of use the tooling we talked about today to kind of bind a picture of ourselves and a scan of our government ID, our Discord handle, and some sort of private key, and put that?
Meanwhile, everybody type their Discord handle right now, right here.
Well, yeah, my Discord handle is, I think, very, very simple. It's dog.
No, in this document, please.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, with
Chat goes away.
I'll offer anyone one rock to type mine. I am not able to edit the document.
You should be. I fixed the link.
Did I get it right?
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Yeah, thanks.
So this one is in the invitation, right?
It's in the chat. I updated it in the chat.
Oh.
Oh, okay. GitHub handles are actually useful for me too, but I can do that another day.
Yeah, I got in. Thank you for doing that.
Theo, like 2 weeks ago, you showed the car key example of you. I would like to have a look at that again, if you are comfortable sharing it. Maybe we can have contact on Discord.
I think I posted the code a couple of times. It's just in my, I've got one sort of repo where I just dump all my stuff in.
All right. Can you dump your GitHub name also in this document, and I can look at it because it looks really good. Looked.
I already did.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, I was behind there. What did we just dump?
My sort of examples repo. GitHub is Theo Fork.
He makes good Rholang. I want to look at it.
And so I'll just say one word because, or one couple of words, in the last 30 seconds, which is at a very high level, I would define a token as a projection of a process that encapsulates rights. And that's a framing that works generally for all forms of tokens, including, Ethereum and the chain.
Did somebody write it down?
It would be very nice to
hear again.
Going through that, Theo. I know that we had a little bit more time to speak about it, and I saw the immense research you guys and thought you guys put into it. So I would be very interested in hearing more about that.
Yeah, and then I might be publishing some of my code for my project in a week or so, so it might be a chance to go over that too.
Regarding the proposal for having a separate session, I think this is something we will take definitely internal as well, and I think this would be very valuable as well, as it enables us to dedicate a little bit more time to that. I think this deserves also a second, like a separate session. That would be great if we can go into a separate session for that as well.
Well, yeah, that obviously will have to require somebody to actually organize all that, which is currently not within my scope, or actually within my capabilities, let's put it that way. We're at the end of the kind of hour we had together. I I will keep adding to the document as Dan is still doing. Anybody else who wants to contribute or clarify something, please open the doc, check if there are no mistakes or if you've been quoted incorrectly. Make sure everything is up to your standard, and we'll follow the same process in terms of arriving at what we will do next week.
Can I?
Yeah.
I suggest that we've got quite a bit of momentum towards Theo on tokens next week. Now, something may come up in the meantime, but we can default to that.
This would be my default as well. This would be my suggestion as well. I would kind of word it that way in an email to everyone. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Also for next week, we can use the polling tools in the end of the session to try to get a good direction.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
For next time. Thanks all.
For starting on just kind of filling out the minutes. I noticed that, so thanks for the initiative.
Wonderful.
Hey, thank you for organizing.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
David,
Yeah.
for the
Cheers.
You too.
Bye-bye.